Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth, and I am with the Education Alliance. At the Education Alliance, we work to connect businesses and community partners with public schools across West Virginia. And our goal is to help students discover career possibilities and build skills and confidence they need for life after graduation. And one of the ways that we do that is through this program called Virtual Work-Based Learning, which gives students direct access to professionals and industries that they may not otherwise experience. So today we are excited to partner with MPLX, giving you a behind the scenes look at a real career in West Virginia and a real workplace. As a reminder, this session is meant to be interactive and engaging. So, as our speaker shares their knowledge, I encourage the students to write down any questions or thoughts that come to mind. And we are going to have dedicated time in the session to have conversations and to go over your questions and answers. So, with that, I'm happy to turn things over to Emily from MPLX to get us started.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for hosting us and kind of giving us the opportunity to share about our company, MPLX. So, just want to give you a kind of a little bit of a high level overview and then kind of go into what our company's values are a little bit. So, Marathon is the majority owner of MPLX, and MPLX operates in this area. We own and operate natural gas gathering and processing facilities, along with crude oil and product transportation infrastructure. And Michelle will dive into that a little bit more in detail in just a bit during the company overview. But at MPC and MPLX, we're really committed to being a great place to work, where we want to remain an employer of choice. And we kind of want to be one that welcomes new ideas, encourages diverse perspectives, develops our people, and fosters a collaborative team environment. And by these, we well-established values guide the way we treat each other and all of our stakeholders, and we believe our behaviors are just as important as what we do in the communities that we operate in. So, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we delve into the presentation here. But we'll start by getting to know each other, introduce you to the company a little bit more and what we do, explore some career opportunities that you may not realize exist, and kind of learn a professional skill that you can use. And then we'll finish off with a fun activity. All right. So, my name is Emily Bates, and I am an HRBP with Marathon and MPLX, and that is a human resources business partner. And I've been here for a little over 3 years, and no 2 days of mine look the same. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of who I am and what I do on a daily basis. And when people think of human resources, they usually think of just hiring and firing and paperwork. But in reality, that's really only a small part of it. So HR is really about people and our culture and just how we want to develop and be that employer of choice. So um, HR is just a big umbrella. So it includes recruiting, benefits, payroll, employee development, problem solving, helping teams work better together. I kind of like to picture it like a tree with a lot of branches, kind of all designed to help employees grow and succeed and actually enjoy their careers here. And my role isn't a specialized role like benefits or payroll, but it's more of a broader role that kind of connects all those branches on the tree. So one day I might coach a leader through a tough conversation. Another day I could be reviewing a performance goal, supporting a promotion, or kind of helping plan a project or initiative. It's really fast paced and it's definitely people focused and always changing. And that's one thing I really enjoy about my career. Um, and some of the skills I use in my position are when I when I think about my job, it's most about the people skills. So communicating clearly, listening, those soft skills, working with different personalities. And I would say listening is honestly one of the most important skills I use every day, and it took me a long time to develop that. But I talk to so many different people with very different perspectives, and my job is really to understand the root cause, kind of what's going on, where they're coming from, and get to the problem, kind of like a detective. And I'll wrap it up here. But how I got here in this career, and this is kind of interesting. I really didn't grow up saying I want to be in HR. And tell you the truth, I don't even know if I knew what HR was back when I decided to go into school and further my education and pick my adult job. Um, yeah, so my path was definitely wasn't straight. I went to school for business, always had business jobs, had sales jobs, and when I tell you that my future is definitely different than what I had envisioned, than where I am now, completely different. But it definitely evolved over time, and I'm glad to be here. But that's something I want you guys to all keep in mind today is when we go through this and just be open. Your career doesn't have to be perfectly planned out. It just kind of needs to keep moving, and you need to keep growing and learning. Um, and with that, I will tell you along my path, I've hit every pothole, bump, speed bump, detour, barricade, whatever you name it, I've hit it. But I wouldn't change a thing. And that's just learning moments and grow. So I'm happy to be where I am, and I really enjoy HR. So, and with that, I will pass it on to our next contestant, Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia Coppis, and I'm currently a board operator at our Houston facility. I've worked for the company for about 12 years in total. I got my start as a quality control lab technician, where we would kind of analyze any of the product samples that the plant produced. So, any of the propane, butanes, we would check the purity of them and write up certificates for all of the customers. So when we would sell it to the next group of people, they could prove how much purity was in the product. Um, then after that, I transitioned into plant operations. I was a gas plant operator for a while, which is more of an outside role, kind of the eyes and ears, seeing what's going on and in the plant, as well as doing anything the board operators needed. And then now I'm currently a board operator, which is more of running the facility, changing pressures and temperatures to make sure we're making that pure product for our customers. Yeah, that's all I do in a day.
All right. Over to me. So I'm Michelle Doherty. When this was actually started, I was a senior manager. I've since been promoted to director of engineering, so I get to announce that. Um, and I'm
Yay.
now the yeah, thank you, director over our process engineering group. So we have a group of folks that are process engineers for all of our new design projects. We are a growth industry, so we're constantly adding new assets, and we have to have process engineers that manage that design and stay with that project all the way through to make sure that it's engineered correctly to operate, make those purity projects that we talked, our products that we talked about, and that we're doing it safely. So we have a group of folks that do that. We have a group of folks that optimize from an engineering standpoint our existing assets. They look at how we're currently operating and seeing if there's any way to improve that. I also manage a bunch of engineering programs. So for things like safe relief of our systems, if something would go wrong, we need it to safely relieve and not have an incident. So there's an entire engineering program around that, as well as many others. I've been with the company about 14 years, and I've done a little bit of everything. I actually started at the plant that Alicia said she was working at. I was plant manager there. I was an engineer there before that. I've done different things here. As Emily stated, my career path has not been a straight line. I have worked in a lot of different industries. I grew up in West Virginia on the Ohio River, and as industry left the area, I kept moving north till I hit Pittsburgh, and then backtracked when oil and gas became the growth industry here, to Cannonsburg, just south of Pittsburgh, came back 15 minutes from my house, 15 minutes from our Houston, PA plant, and was for the first time in a growth industry instead of shutting things down, which has been an amazing part of my career. I've been in industry for 30 years, and I've done a little bit of everything, including some government work and consulting. And I very much echo what Emily said on just be open to opportunities as they come up. And just because it's not what you had imagined you were going to do at one point in your life doesn't mean that that's not the right thing. Everything that I've done has given me a breadth of experience that has led me to where I'm currently at. So definitely be open to that. All right, so now it's me to continue with the company overview on what we do, how we do it, and why it matters. So Marathon Petroleum Corporation has been around for a very long time, more than 135 years. I still talk to people that remember that we were part of Marathon Oil. Some people still think we're part of Marathon Oil. That was actually split off a couple of decades ago where Marathon Oil split, and Marathon Oil is its own company. And then we have Marathon Petroleum Corporation, which has our refining assets, as well as then back in 2018, they started purchasing natural gas assets. And that's how I became part of the company. They purchased an asset, and then they've continued to do so. We are ranked 29th on the 2025 Fortune 500 list. Our headquarters is in Findlay, Ohio, which may seem like a strange place, but if you look at its oil history, way back in the day, that area was an oil producing area and still is. We have locations all over the country now. And as Emily said, MPC owns MPLX. It's our growth arm. All of our growth assets are in that limited partnership. So our core values and stakeholder engagement, we are very strong on our core values. It is something that is discussed. Our CEO, Marianne Manning, discusses it on a regular basis. It's in all of our goals and our communications that we are to have be stewards of our environment and stewards of the people, not only that work for us, but in the community, making sure that our systems and our processes are safe. To have integrity, we are an inclusive environment and culture. We have a lot of different programs to make sure that everyone feels like they're part of this community that we've developed, and inclusive in the company and everything we do. Highly collaborative. There was just an initiative that is called Run as One that came out within our company to help foster that collaboration and making sure that we're not having silos in our organization, that we're actually taking best practices across the orgs and making sure that we're doing the best that we can across everything, with the underlying theme of excellence, making sure that we are always striving to do better. Very important to everything that we do here. For our actual things that we do and what we produce, are petroleum products. So pretty much anything that is even probably around you right now in the classroom, you can find things that are derived from petroleum products. They really do make the things that we use every day. Things that you would not, kind of potentially expect. So the things that typically come to mind are, gasoline, fuel, energy, but a lot of our products are actually feedstocks to make plastics and things of that nature. And if you think of what plastics are in, they're in literally everything these days. So our industry touches all of these things and makes it possible. And with that, I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes, and I'm going to play a video that talks a little bit more about our industry and how it impacts those things in our everyday life. So hopefully this works here. There we go.
Products made from oil and natural gas make life easier, healthier, and more productive. From supplying the heating oil and natural gas that heats our homes, the gasoline and diesel fuel to power our vehicles, to the plastic in our headphones and the fabric in our workout clothes, the oil and natural gas industry makes lives better. The pipelines, railroads, ships, roads, and storage used by the refining and petrochemical manufacturing industries are an essential part of these multifaceted businesses. In the United States, we have almost 2.5 million miles of pipeline. The oil and natural gas industry use these pipelines along with more than 4 million miles of roads and railroads to move this country. Often called the midstream sector, this infrastructure allows for the safe and cost-effective transport of oil and natural gas from the fields where they're produced to the refineries and processing plants that convert these raw materials into a multitude of products. This industry provides the fuels that move us around the country and the world. The plastics that go into our phones, prosthetics, clothing, and toys, and even help create the medicines that can save our lives. The midstream sector of the oil and natural gas industry employs more than 300,000 Americans. These professionals safely and efficiently transport the fuels that make modern life possible. Without continued investment to maintain, improve, and expand midstream infrastructure, we risk jobs, safety, and a lifeline to these important products.
All right. So hopefully that gave you a little better overview of the things that you don't traditionally associate with oil and gas industry and how that impacts everyone every day. We do have this extreme focus on social responsibility and sustainability. We were given an Energy Star Award in 2024 for one of our facilities in Pennsylvania. And that was by our choice. We wanted to make sure that we were being good stewards of our energy and reduced our energy consumption while we're making product that can create energy. So it was a great honor to be able to do that and earn that the 5th year in a row, earning that award. And for us in the MPLX in the sector to be able to do that with one of our assets. And now we're working to take the lessons we've learned from our Bluestone facility and apply it to other facilities. We set goals for ourselves even above and beyond what the government regulation says that we have to achieve greenhouse gas emission reductions. So these are the 30% below and 38% below 2014 levels by 2035. Those two things are above what we are required to do by law. And if you think about it, it's not just good for the environment, it's also good for us. If we keep things in the pipe, we make more money. So it actually makes sense for both reasons. It's economically justifiable and it's better for the environment. So we want to keep it where it needs to be used. We have achieved rank #1, best place to work for an oil and gas company, especially for disability inclusion. So this is our commitment to making sure that we have an inclusive culture here as a place to work. And we've invested $24 million in our community in 2024. We don't have those full numbers for 2025 yet, but I'm sure it's something very similar, if not more, that we've invested in our community. We typically pull together in lots of different ways, including when there's been large disasters. We have gathered supplies. We've taken things in trailers of supplies to places when there's been natural disasters, among other things. We really are committed to making sure our communities are well supported.
If you don't mind, I'd just like to stop for a minute because I have a question, and I also wanted to see if any of the students had questions, because I feel like you gave us a lot of really good information about the just the industry of petroleum. I know for me, realizing how much how many things that were influenced or how much it touches in our everyday life. But as one of the things I had a question about when you were talking about the emissions and how you guys track that, what kind of person in your industry checks those types of things? What kind of job would that be that keeps track of that and the impact on the environment?
So we actually have an entire team dedicated to sustainability. So there at each of our facilities, we have instrumentation and people that are dedicated to collecting that data for our reporting purposes. And then those get reported up for all the projects within MPLX and specifically NG and NGLs, which is where the three of us all work out of that division, natural gas and natural gas liquids division. They have their own sustainability department. So everything, all that reporting rolls up to them, and then they combine that together, and that gets reported out in all of our reporting places, including to our stakeholders. You know, we have shares in both companies, and we have to show that to our stakeholders. So there's a sustainability report that gets generated each year. So there are dedicated folks associated with that, typically environmental engineering folks that are fulfilling those jobs and those roles. That answer your
Thank you.
question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. And are there any questions from any of our students before we move on? Okay, just wanted to make sure that no one had any questions. Anyone
No.
else have a question? Amelia?
I was just wondering if the students already knew everything, or maybe they found one thing that was surprising that was made out of plastic. Or not plastic, sorry, petroleum.
No worries. I understood what you meant.
Maybe we could get
I know that you guys were talking about the importance of company core values. Why do you think it's important for students to understand the company's core values before applying or pursuing a career with your company?
That is a fantastic question. You know, most people are focused when they go out, and Emily, you can tag in on this if you want as well, but most people are focused on going out and getting that first job, and they're not really thinking really about the company and what they stand for and the environment that they're going to walk into. And I would encourage everyone to really think about that. I've been in some really interesting situations in my career path, and you know, the core values and things weren't always there 30 years ago. So you couldn't have access to that and understand what people were talking about and what they really meant. But it is something to think about. And if a company is publishing those core values, you know, take them seriously and understand that that's the environment you're walking into. And hopefully it's an environment and those core values align with yours, because you want to go to a company that not only you get the job and get the pay associated with it, but you're going to get that overall fulfillment and feel like you're actually part of something bigger. Emily, you got anything to add to that? Alicia?
No, that is perfect. You said it wonderfully. And I think that just goes with any company, you know, just really urge you if you're applying or even looking at a prospective company, if you don't agree with their core values or, like Michelle said, align with them, that's what you're going to be expected. That's the culture. And it might not be a good fit if you don't. So yeah, definitely. And usually a lot of the companies have those published out on the websites, so it's very easy accessible to assess.
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah, I would agree with what the two of you said. It really just creates the culture that you're going to walk into on your first day to your first year to your 30th year. So really just make sure it's somewhere that you truly agree with and you know you'll enjoy working there.
Any other questions before I dive into more of the information? All right. Let's go ahead and share my screen again. All right. So I talked a little bit about the natural gas and natural gas liquids. That's the division that we work in. We also have crude oil and products logistics. So traditionally that's called LNS for us. And those are the two divisions within MPLX. Then you have Marathon that does the refining. In this map, you can see, there we go. The map, you can see where all of our natural gas processing plants are these red symbols here. So here in the Northeast, we have a lot of processing between Ohio, Pennsylvania, and down into West Virginia. And in Sherwood, our Sherwood facility is the largest natural gas processing facility in the United States. It was for a brief period the largest in the world, but it was quickly eclipsed by somewhere in the Middle East. But definitely within the US, it is the largest processing facility. So we have a lot here in the Northeast. We also have a lot in Texas and New Mexico, and then in North Dakota. The gray facilities that look like the red ones, but they're gray, those are our refineries at Marathon, on the Marathon side. All of these lines that are connecting are the pipelines that are connecting the facilities. We also have some terminals where we're getting, shipping things down to the Gulf and then putting them on ships. Or out here, we have crude oil ships, and for our refineries, we have some terminals to bring in crude oil and to ship product out as well. So really are coast to coast here, including up in Alaska. You can see some of our facilities in Alaska. So all over the place, we have things that are connected via pipeline. We ship things out truck. We have a huge trucking fleet, and we have rail cars. So rail stations to get all the products out to where they need to be. We did convert, MPC converted one of their refineries to a renewable fuel facility. And then they started expanding that. So they have converted the Dickinson, North Dakota facility and then the Martinez, California facility to renewable fuels. 2.4 billion standard cubic feet of gas a day of natural gas processing, which is a huge amount for our facility, and 40 million barrels of terminal storage capacity, which is a large amount of storage for these products for the U.S. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily to talk about your career.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about our operations or anything before we get into some of the different careers that exist? All right. So if you want to go to the next slide, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So these are just kind of the different categories that we have within the company, and this is enterprise-wide. So these aren't just specific to MPLX and kind of our division, but these are very high level, and there's a lot of different positions that kind of go within these pillars. So we have engineering and construction, and that's where Michelle's expertise comes in. A lot of different engineering specialties are in there, a lot of projects and that kind of thing. And Michelle, I'll let you speak to that if a little later if you want to kind of go into that.
Sure, no worries.
Yeah, and then we have operations and skills trades, which is where Alicia would come into play. That's like going to be our board operators, our gas plant operators, our maintenance, our I&E tech roles. We have a lot of barge operators down on the Ohio River at our refineries and those types of jobs. Laboratory and quality control, and Alicia also spoke to that earlier. That's kind of where she started, and she can really talk to those positions functions as well. And then we have our HES&S and health, environment, safety, and security. And I'm glad Beth kind of questioned this earlier. This is kind of where that sustainability and environmental stewardship kind of falls into, where we look at our safety professionals. One of our biggest core values is safety. And it's something we adhere to. That's one of our most important things. We want somebody to go home the way they arrived at work. So that's kind of where all that fits into. And then we kind of have our corporate functions. That's kind of where I would fit into. We have finance, which is accounting, and we have the IT facets and the legal and kind of the other functions that would fit into, or where little pieces of the puzzle that need to make everything go the way it should. So, Michelle, I'll kind of let you talk and take over if you want to talk about engineering and construction, and then we'll
Sure.
just pass it off to Alicia.
Yeah. So for engineering construction, we look at almost all engineering disciplines. So in my team, we take a lot of chemical engineers, petroleum engineers, although petroleum is typically upstream, so on the refining side versus midstream, but we do have several petroleum engineers that work here. We definitely employ a lot of civil and environmental engineers for our construction projects, and as like I said, environmental engineering from our environmental sustainability permitting processes. You have to use those skills a lot for that. And then we have an entire electrical engineering department. So we have to power this stuff somehow. And so that takes electrical engineers to manage the power aspect. And we have a lot of mechanical engineers working in our integrity and reliability fields and on projects, as well as at the plant level from a maintenance aspect. So we really do touch all of those. The only engineers that we don't hire as many of is industrial engineers, although I think those are becoming more important. We do have them in some of our groups for modeling. So at the corporate level, they hire industrial engineers to do financial modeling for the company, and a lot for continuous improvement and analyst jobs that industrial engineers get into. I actually, as a chemical engineer, just recently joined the Industrial Engineering Society because I like data analytics, and they do a lot of that. So you can do pretty much anything here with any of the engineering degrees in either traditional engineering or our construction project. Lisha, what about operations? And you know about the lab.
I do. So operations wise, we work hand in hand with a lot of the different departments, both in the facility as well as how Michelle stated, all of those engineering groups. They more design stuff and then we implement them at our facility. So you can be an inside operator and actually run the process, or you can be an outside operator that really has like the hands-on and the valve turning and the locking out of equipment. And then we also work hand in hand with groups like maintenance that works on the equipment, as well as IME, which is your like instrumentation and electrical group, that they really get in with all of the transmitters. And so you really have a lot of hand in hand working with the varying other departments in the operations group, and you kind of get to see little snippets of each different group and what they do throughout the day. So it's a really good department to get a good baseline of what the company does, how it runs, how to fix it, and you also get your little nitty gritty of, can we get it to run more efficiently, run better, keep it as safe as possible, and everything like that, which then also kind of works with like your laboratory and quality control section. Because while operations is making the product, you're working very closely with the lab to make sure that your product is meeting your company specifications, because it's where we also have the marketing department that's selling the product, that's setting those specifications for what the plant should be producing and the lab should be testing. So the lab in a quality control section has really been growing through the last like year or two, and to adding more positions and more detailed and kind of improving varying areas and making the information of what we should be producing really more visible to us as well as the customer. So it's really also a kind of, it's a smaller department, but it's also a very important department because without the lab or the quality control, we're not able to sell the product. And kind of at the end of the day, we want to sell it and we want to produce it as safely as possible.
Very good summary.
All right, thank you. And we can go to the next slide if you're ready. Yep.
Yep.
So if you're interested in joining or just curious, you can go out and explore opportunities at joinmpc.com, and everything is out there is listed. It's a very nice website that you can kind of check out and see all our job openings on. So any questions about our positions that we have open, or any questions that might come to mind, or anything that's interesting?
I do have a question. I know you guys, we're speaking to a class in Wetzel County, but also this is going to go out to a lot of other counties in West Virginia. And I know you showed us the map of where lots of the operations are happening. Can you just give us a small overview of what parts of West Virginia you guys are located in?
Yeah, I can tell you that. So, one, I was born in Wetzel County. So that's funny. Going back to my roots. But so we have operations in Wetzel County. So our Mobley facility, or Mobley processing facility, is in Wetzel County. If you keep going north, right before you cross from West Virginia into Pennsylvania, the Majorsville facility is there, which is a large facility. You come up further in to Pennsylvania, and you have the Houston, Pennsylvania facility, and then a little further north is Bluestone. If you from Wetzel County south, we have an office in Bridgeport, West Virginia. So we have some corporate folks that or MPLX folks that sit there that aren't associated necessarily with the assets themselves. And then we have down on Route 50, we have the Sherwood facility, Sherwood and Smithburg assets, which I said were the largest ones in the largest single asset in the country. In Ohio, in Cadiz, Ohio, there is a facility there. In Hopedale, there, and all of those that I've mentioned are natural gas processing facilities. Some of them have what we call fractionation. So fractionation are produce those natural gas liquids that we were talking about, butanes, propane, things like that, that there's a very large facility. So our largest fractionation facility is in Hopedale, Ohio. And then we also have a facility in Seneca, Ohio, and a Cadiz condensate facility. So kind of in this eastern side of Ohio, and the western side of Pennsylvania, and then down really kind of along the eastern side of West Virginia, or the western side of West Virginia, sorry. I got it backwards for a second. So that whole, where I pictured that, pretty much on that, right along the river.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to ask the students if they have any questions. I'd love to hear from them. Surely there's a question someone has about the different opportunities there in with MPLX. I know that there are opportunities close even to where you guys are located in Wetzel County. So can anybody ask a question that maybe you would want to know? Not everybody at once.
They asked what the hiring process was.
Yeah, I can take this one. So the first step would be just to kind of go out to our website and see what positions that you're interested in. Um, and then you would apply. We take a resume, and from there we review all resumes, and we would call you in for an interview. And from there we'd look at all candidates, and that's how we would make this selection. Does that answer your question? Or did you have a more specific question?
Yeah, he said that's good.
Okay.
Um, what majors or technical experience would help students be more employable by companies like MPLX?
Yeah, I can kind of take this one too. And then Michelle, if you want to jump in more for the engineering side. For technical side, depending on what it is, like if it's like a GPO, and Alicia, you can probably jump in on this as well. But we do look at some experience, but some of the positions we do it's not necessary to have experience. So uh, um, we would just look at what you have, and kind of the role, and try to match you up to what's available.
Yeah, a lot of when you look at the job descriptions, they're gonna tell you, what experience that you're looking for. So it's really good to go if you think you want to do something, go start looking and online and trying to find those jobs and see what experience and requirements, educational requirements they're asking for, because they'll put those minimum requirements on those
Hmm.
job descriptions out there, which is a really good way to just kind of get an idea. Hey, I think I want to do this. What do I really need to go to get that? Alicia, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, yeah, just kind of like lab wise, it was a lot of like chemistry and science experience and background, but more so operations. Like a gas plant operator is more of kind of like your entry level. I have
Mhm.
some maybe industry knowledge. I've looked a few things up, some background, and then it just can kind of grow from there, as well as what the two of them said of just kind of seeing, you know, what a company is asking for and if that's something you would like to get into.
Yeah, it could be anything from high school education to engineering degree and everything in between that you have some tech experience, some tech education. Uh, it really just depends on what you're looking for across the board. So, and every company is different.
Hmm.
Do you guys know the total number of career jobs, like different career roles in MPLX?
Oh my gosh, a lot.
It's a lot. They just posted our career development framework, and I was actually showing one of the interns in my department that yesterday, and it's hundreds, hundreds of different um, roles and positions, even just within MPLX. It's a lot.
And as we grow and evolve, there's more that's added every day. Yep.
Yeah. So we do have a fun virtual activity that Alicia is going to lead if we're ready to do that, and then we can have more questions. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again.
They were wondering about internships, like
Oh
uh,
yeah.
as they're still in high school. A couple of them are still juniors, and we're interested in getting involved in the company.
So Emily, as far as I know, all of the internships that get posted are for college students. I'm not aware of an intern program for high school students.
No, yeah, no, we don't have anything for high school students. That could potentially change in the future. But yeah, you're correct. Right now they have to be graduated high school and be enrolled in either a technical school or college.
College. Mhm.
Yep, and we are currently working on with some of the local technical schools. We don't have any field-based interns right now, but we are currently working to develop that. So if that is something you're interested in, um, that that should be soon. So something to keep on your radar.
Yeah. And all those get posted on the website as well. The Join
Mhm.
MPC as job internships are posted there. Great question. All right. Alicia, you're ready?
Yes, I am. So we're going to work on testing our memory capacity. You can go to the next slide.
Mhm.
So first we're going to talk about what is your working memory capacity. It's more about the function of your memory than the time duration. So it's what you can remember, for how long you can remember it. We typically have a small memory capacity. And researchers think we can only process 3 to 4 chunks of new information at one time. So your working memory is used a lot in your mental tasks, like retaining ideas from earlier in a sentence and combining them with ideas later on. Solving your basic math problems, like moving numbers around when you're adding and subtracting, as well as planning your outings with friends and family, like what stop we should make first, what stop we should make second, is all your working memory. And then the next slide.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to count how many times the players in white pass the ball. And then we can just play the whole video and talk about it afterwards.
All right. Ah. There we go. Skip that part.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half miss the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion. Learn more about this illusion and the original gorilla experiment.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
I was looking to go to the next slide.
Mhm.
So did any of you miss the gorilla? How about the curtain changing colors and the black team member leaving? You're not alone. About 50% of people might notice the gorilla, while a majority of people miss the color change, as well as the team member leaving. This is called your inattentional blindness. It's also called perceptional blindness. We fail to see the unexpected because our attention is focused on other tasks. It has nothing to do with your actual vision, but more of the limit of our attention span, which causes people to overlook things. Our brains can only process so much information at one time. And when you focus really hard on one thing, it's really easy to miss other important details that are right in front of you. So rather than focusing on every tiny detail, we tend to concentrate on what we think is the most important. And then our brain fills in the rest of the details. In this case, in the video, we were told to focus on how many times the players in white passed the ball, and our brain just filled in the rest of the details. So while all the other details aren't fully relevant, you just kind of tend to ignore it because that's not what you were told to focus on. So like the gorilla and the curtain changing and the player leaving, our brain wasn't prepared to see those things. We only have so much working memory that we can use on one task at a time, which is why you kind of miss the little background details. Let me go to the next slide. So how can we improve our working memory and reduce our inattentional blindness? Researchers suggest that we learn new topics in about 3 to 5 topic chunks. You can create acronyms or mnemonic phrases. Also, creativity can really benefit in your memory and the process of recalling things in the future. You can visualize a picture. You can put information to a song or a rhyme, which helps memorizing lists. You can also try to increase your healthy lifestyles, like getting enough sleep, taking some breaks, manage your stress, which those I feel like are a lot easier to say you're going to do than do them. But it does help your memory and your ability to learn and hold information. You can reduce your inattentional blindness as well by focusing on one task at a time and just decreasing your distractions. Take short breaks and think about what you might have missed. Have a friend that's not involved in your task overlook what you were doing to see if they see something you missed. And you can also try meditating every now and again to help with your mindfulness and to also slow down and think about what you're doing. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So how do we use this? We use our working memory daily at the plant. The inside board operators ask the outside operators to start equipment, and we're giving them small equipment numbers in chunks of topics to get there. Like, can you start compressor number 3? And they can go out there and start it instead of giving somebody too much information at once and missing the key details of which compressor needs started. Also, during plant checks, when you're an outside operator, is when you're the most susceptible for having the inattentional blindness because you're walking over the same areas day after day, multiple times a day. We can combat this blindness by reducing the workload on one operator, as well as making sure everybody's taking adequate breaks to kind of, break up the monotony of the day. We also try to reduce the distractions each operator has by leaving our phones and other devices in the varying control rooms, and it really helps us keep our eyes on and mind on task because we would like to do everything there as safely as possible. Also, when we prepare equipment for service, we're always looking over it. We always have a fresh set of eyes, double checking, making sure all the lockout devices are placed correctly and that nothing is overlooked. And then in everyday life, a lot of like school age, like you guys are learning how to drive. And that's why talking on your cell phone while driving can be dangerous. And we all know that we shouldn't do it. But you're not looking at the small details while you're driving. You're too busy planning what you're going to go do over the weekend. And so you can miss out on things like seeing a deer run across you in the road because you're just kind of not looking for the unexpected, similar to the gorilla in the video that we weren't looking for. No one's necessarily looking for a deer, but they just kind of jump out and you see them. As well as while you're playing any sports or video games. Most plays are called in a short combination of letters or numbers, so you can kind of recall it quicker from your memory and not just lose where you are in your plays or in your video games. And that's all I have.
All right. That's the last of our stuff. The only thing I would add to what she covered is we actually teach this. We call it listening to see. And I've taught it I'm actually teaching it again this year internally because it is a big deal for day-to-day safety as well as continuous improvement on our processes. You have to start seeing things different, and understanding how we process information and how we see things is really important.
Thank you very
Question.
much for everything. Yeah. So I know we just have about a minute, 2 minutes, but I'd love to just talk to the students again. What questions do you have? We were given some really great information.
Questions that wasn't answered.
What about the last activity that they just did with us? What was something that stuck out to you that maybe you could use in your real life? Was there anything that stuck out to you guys? Because I know for me personally, the looking with a fresh set of eyes, like when I'm working on something, maybe asking a friend or someone who has a fresh set of eyes to look at something. I wrote that one down for myself. Is there anyone that stuck out to you all?
I think the
Okay,
chunk
well,
like stood
yeah.
out for me, like just being able to chunk things down into smaller portions, and then you kind of get the overall picture.
Absolutely. Well, if there's no more questions or any final comments from anyone, then I guess our time is over. And I just want to say thank you all for being here today. I hope this session sparked some new ideas and gave you some insight into some career pathways and different skills that can be used in today's workforce. And as a reminder, we have business learning modules that are taking place weekly. And if you are unable to attend live, we have recordings that are uploaded onto our website, educationalliance.org/work-based learning. All right. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you for your time this morning, and we hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.